Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do another episode of Mint's Design Adventures. And if you watched this before, then you know that these are my design adventures when I go to install projects and I talk about what my plan was, what went wrong, what I had to address, what last minute issues there were, all sorts of things that are behind the scenes that you would not see in a photograph of the finished product. So let's dive into it. Today, specifically, we're going to talk about Airbnbs. And what a lot of you don't know about me is that I used to do a lot of Airbnbs. I used to own another company that I started with some properties that I had purchased. And I wasn't intending to get into the Airbnb business. It just sort of stumbled into it with the properties that I purchased because I wasn't living in the same state and I needed to find a way to carry these properties. And so I started to Airbnb them. But as a designer, of course, I didn't want to just do any old regular Airbnb and just slap on the basics and call it a day. It's just not consistent with who I am and the standard that I want to push forth out into the world as not just me, but as a designer. So I decided that I was going to start a company with high-end, well-designed Airbnbs. And for about 12, 13 years, that's what I did as sort of like a sister company to Mint. Each property that I had named them something specific for either the decor or some inspiration that I had in mind before starting the project. So this particular one is called Hello Birdie. Hello Birdie came about because I bought two properties at the same time. They were condo hotels. Hello Birdie was a little bit bigger than the other one, and we will definitely get into the other one in a separate video, so stay tuned. If you love this one, you're going to definitely love the next one. So Hello Birdie was 850 square feet for reference. On the smaller side, one bedroom, obviously for Airbnbs. I didn't want to get into something too big where the maintenance costs are going to be cost prohibitive to carry the property as a rental. So what I learned doing real estate for a while is buy the smallest property in the best location and the best building that you can, because your maintenance fees and carrying costs are going to be a lot less, but you still have an investment or a foot in to a good building in a good neighborhood. And that's where your money grows. And Hello Birdie came about because I saw this wallpaper I bought it at Anthropologie, but I know the designer is something different and I'll have to look into that for you. But I saw these bird wallpapers and I just fell in love. There was one in particular, it was a flamingo wallpaper. And as we're in Florida, that speaks exactly to where the property is located. But I loved that they had a pink version and they had a blue version. And I thought, the obvious thing is to go with the pink version because, of course, pink flamingos, it's Miami. But you know what? I just have to do something different. I loved the blue flamingos. Then I sourced a separate wallpaper also at Anthropologie with these little owls. And what you guys don't know about me is that in my father's side of the family, the owl is a family symbol. So it spoke personally to me, and design is very personal. Even though you're designing for other people, sometimes there's a lot of the designer that goes into these elements. And so that's just a little bit of a backstory on that wallpaper. Going forward, Hello Birdie was really like a labor of love for me, along with the other one called the Palms, which I said you'll see in a separate video. I love Hello Birdie because it gave me the flexibility to use these kind of funky, playful wallpapers where, if I was designing for someone else and not for me, they may not want that sort of thing. They may want something a little more serious depending on what they were requesting of me. When you design for yourself, you really get the opportunity to do playful things. You don't have rules. Nobody's going to come at you and say, I don't like this, redo this or whatever. So I get, that opportunity to do playful, funky things that I wouldn't get to do in other projects. So that being said, those were the jumping off points, those two wallpapers for this bird theme. And when I say bird theme, it wasn't like overly overdone. It just really was fun, appropriate for Miami, for Florida, for a vacation spot in Coconut Grove. I just think it was lots of fun and it looked amazing at the end. You'll start to see the use of color in this space. There were definitely blues. There were definitely like hues of flamingo, pinky, peaches, some greens. I loved using recycled materials. There were some blue jeans that I used to make a banquette. I had my upholsterer cut the legs off of a lot of jeans that I bought off of eBay that were being sold as a lot just to recycle or do whatever you want with. We cut all the legs and we sewed them all together. So all different colors of denim throughout the banquette, not only because I thought it was cool, it was great to recycle those pieces of denim, but also for durability and washability. Obviously, washing denim, it's going to be one of the most durable materials you can use. So that's another tip that I'm giving you today is think about things that you have even in your closet, right? That you can make something out of for your home that's going to be durable and unique. And that was unique. And I got a lot of compliments on that over the years. Secondly, the use of color. Like I said, we had a small kitchen. I did remodel the kitchen because it was very cramped. And even though it was a small kitchen, I used a two-tone kitchen. And a lot of people would say, no, that kitchen's too small. You can't use two colors. I did hear that from people, even the carpenter. Doesn't matter to me. There are no rules in design. It's what feels good to you. So that's a third tip for you today. Do what makes you happy and what looks good to you. It doesn't matter what others think. The top of the kitchen is Benjamin Moore's Dove Wing, and the bottom of the kitchen was Benjamin Moore's Garden Path. And I just thought it added this freshness to the kitchen and also playfulness, but not overly done. And then let's get into some other colors that were kind of fun. I love the names of them. The general color for the apartment was called Marilyn's Dress. And last but not least, my favorite name of all, the bedroom was Benjamin Moore also, and it's called Tomato Cream Sauce. So super fun. I love all the names, and they are speaking to the playfulness of the design overall in the apartment. I loved using different patterns. Like I used some Flor tiles. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of Flor, Flor. If you haven't seen them, I love their tiles. Specifically in use for Airbnbs, they are a lifesaver because I can switch out the tiles whenever I want to. If somebody stains them, if they get ruined, I just pop one off, put a new one in. I always had extras hidden underneath the bed in case there were accidents. That's something for you guys to know. If you have Airbnbs, maybe using a whole area rug is not the smartest thing because there is wear and tear in these properties. So that's something to know. I did take this bird theme throughout the apartment in different ways. I was able to source, luckily, one day at a HomeGoods, a large piece of art that was the main piece of art in the living room. It did have some birds, and I put it on the flamingo wallpaper. And then I found these bamboo cages also at a HomeGoods that I hung off to the side just as decor. And these flamingo, I don't know what to call them. They're just sort of like a statue, like a head of a flamingo, also on either side of this painting that reinstated the flamingo theme. And it just looks so amazing and so playful but elegant. Now, moving back to the dining room for 1 second, as I mentioned, we had the denim seat on the banquette, but the banquette was really built not only as a space saver because it functioned better with the layout of the apartment, but really as a storage because, as I said, it was 850 square feet. And with an Airbnb, you always have a cleaning crew that comes in after each guest and turns over the apartment, right? The cleaning crew also needs a place to store their things. So extra linens, extra towels, extra bedspreads, anything like that, that would be of extra need in case, even for a guest, if the guest is staying and they have an accident and you need to change the bed sheets, then there was always a place where those things were stored. And it's not only of utility, but it looks great with the apartment. It looks great with the decor, but it serves two functions. It's the storage and the seating. And for a small space, that's a win-win. Thinking about this apartment, the last thing that we did was the bathroom. We did change out the bathroom tiles for some printed cement tiles, which went with the playfulness of the decor. And I did repeat that garden path color in the vanity in the bathroom because it is a small apartment. I didn't want to add too many different colors. So I did play with the same colors all throughout to make the space feel cohesive. And I think it was successful. So as I said, this is Mint's Design Adventures, and I did say I was going to get into the challenges that I faced in this project. There were really two main challenges that I faced. Now, if you live in Miami or you don't, and you've worked in a building, you already know as a designer or a contractor that, or actually even yourself, if you go to do a project and you live in a building, you already know how challenging buildings can be with contractors coming in and out, all the rules, the hours, the permitting. Well, this building was extra difficult because they asked each contractor for a specific document that most contractors don't have. So I ended up having to find a contractor that would do this for me. It wasn't the person or people that I usually work with. So I had to go with an unknown person, which as a designer is a hard thing to do because you already know your people. So I had to deviate from my norm and go and hire people that I did not know, that I had to really supervise a little more just because I didn't know their work ethic. So that was a challenge. They did charge me like $600 a month extra to have this particular document that the hotel was requesting because it was a condo hotel. So that was challenging, getting the permits, and then just the wait. After I purchased these properties, since I couldn't rent them out because they were in a state that was not acceptable to me, I had to carry the cost of these properties for almost a year. before the permits came through and I was able to go through the renovation and put them on the rental market. So it was a lot. That being said, the second challenge was the bedroom closet. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but the way that the hotel had built this closet, it was almost like they had one large closet that was split into three. And it was really cost prohibitive for an Airbnb rental for me to knock all that out, then have issues with the floor because I would have to source floor that I didn't have. So I had to work with these three separate spaces, which would not have been my preference. And then I sort of had to create a built-in into them. And I did choose in both rental properties, the other one that we'll make a video on later and this one, to leave closets with no doors because I felt that it was cleaner. I thought it looked good. I made them look like they should be open, not like I'm looking at the inside of a closet. I painted the insides, all that stuff. So it looked good, more like a built-in, I would say. That was the purpose of it. And also I didn't have doors banging into each other. Like the closet door would have banged into the door to come into the bedroom. So I didn't want any of that because that causes wear and tear, more damage over time, more repairs, more problems with guests. So that's another tip I'm going to give you. If you guys are renting out properties, minimize your wear and tear where you can, where you know there will be problems, try to get rid of them. Be creative with your solutions. So guys, as I said, I've been doing Airbnbs for about 13 years. I did sell these two properties about a year and a half ago. That was the last time that I've done anything like that. But I do have plenty of experience with this. So if you guys are interested in starting an Airbnb business or you already have one going and it's not really looking how you want it to look, you want something a little bit more polished, I will tell you that my properties did really well because they looked good and I was able to command a premium. There's a standard that goes along with this. And personally, I am that market. If I'm the one traveling and I need to rent an Airbnb as a designer, I want a place that looks like somebody thought about how it's going to look and function. That's just me. So if you guys are interested in designing your Airbnbs and renting something that's a little higher end on the Airbnb market, it will definitely grab attention of potential renters because when you're competing against thousands and thousands of other photos, the one that really looks like it came out of a magazine and that's well photographed is going to make people stop. And that's where you get your rentals. So if you guys are interested in that, I can do this with my eyes closed down to the last fork. I can set up your Airbnb. I've done this a long, long time with many properties and I've got it down to a science. So if you need help, please message us. If you've enjoyed this video and you like what I've had to say or you've learned anything useful today, I would really appreciate if you like and subscribe. It's free to do so and it always helps us create more content that you will enjoy and that we can think about. So get on it, give us a like, and I'll see you in the next one.